Alright, we're going to design our dog slash goat slash rabbit house or whatever else you want to put in it. In a previous in class we talked about the design. I'm not going to get into specifics of it, but I'm just going to help you start designing the different components. This is what you're going to be able to design by the end of this video. This is a floor system that we're going to build on top of. It's called platform framing, when you build this floor system and then frame on top of it. It's the most common method used in the US. So without further ado, let's get going. First off, to navigate, you will use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Wherever your mouse pointer is where it's going to zoom to. So if I have it over here, it's going to zoom over here. Over here, it's going to zoom over here. And what we want to do is work on this origin. So I'm going to hover over that and zoom closer to it. If there's a little guy here, you can click and hold and do a selection box over him and do delete and delete that guy. It's called a sprite. Just gives you a size reference, but it just kind of gets in our way. So you can scroll in and out. If you click in your scroll wheel, you orbit. If you click in your scroll wheel and push shift on the bottom left of your keyboard, you can pan. So between those three things you can navigate. So we'll scroll in and out, click your scroll wheel in, orbit, hold in shift and pan. If you need to, pause this video and practice using those navigation tools. Okay, if you're ready though, let's just get going. So we're going to use the line tool first. It just looks like a pencil. And I'm going to click on the origin and go up the blue axis. So, and one mistake I see people make is they'll click and they'll drag and then they'll let go of the mouse, and it just draws a line wherever they let go is the end of the line. We want to type in a precise measurement, so just don't hold in your clicker, just click and let go. And now my fingers are off the click buttons. I'm going up the blue axis. I'm just dragging it up this way. It doesn't matter how far. And then the bottom right, it gives me a length. Right now it's over 3 feet. If you look in the bottom right, you can type in feet or inches there. If I type 3 and then left of enter, if I hold in shift and push that, it does inches. But if I don't do inches, that's what it defaults to. So if I just put 3, it's going to do 3 inches. But let's say I want feet. If you just push the button left of enter, that's the foot symbol. But what we want is we're going to be using pallet wood. It's 1/2 inch thick by 2.5 inches wide. So we're doing the width of this. So it's 2.5. So I'm going to erase that. 2.5. Oh, I messed up. Control Z is to undo. 2.5. Enter. Now it's being a little weird. Let's try it again. Let me refresh the page. Sometimes it freezes, so I just refresh the page. Oh look, the board's already made right there. So I'm going to delete that one. We don't need that one. Okay, I'm going up 2.5, enter. And then if it's really small, you might have to scroll in and zoom in. If I drag the line out to the right, it turns red. That means that it's parallel with this red axis. That's good, that's what we want. So 0.5, or I could type in 1/2 inch, either one. Then I'm going to go down, make sure it's blue, so it's parallel with this left side. And I'm going to snap it to this red axis, or you could type in 2.5. And then I'm going to come over and snap it. You'll notice when I connected these lines, which these are called polylines, when I connected them together, it makes a shape and it fills it in. So now we went from having just some lines to having a rectangle. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, I'm going to orbit. We need to make this into a board now, so I'm going to go to the push-pull tool, which is, it lets you extrude or make things three-dimensional. I'm going to drag that out. And we got to think about something here before I drag that too far. We're making this board here at the end. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's part of our floor joists. And we want this whole thing to be 3 feet by 3 feet. So we want it to be a nice little square. And to make it 3 feet this way, we got to account for the thickness that this board takes up. So this board is a 1/2 inch. It takes up a 1/2 inch on that side. And then over on this side, it also takes up a 1/2 inch. So this board that we're going to make needs to be an inch smaller than 36. So 35, I'm going to type that in, enter. That accounts for the thickness of this and the thickness of this. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make it look like a board. Do the select tool, click and hold and drag a box. Make sure that you're not going like this. You want to make sure it's all the way inside of your box, that you're getting everything inside of here. And I'm actually picking up this line right here. I don't want that. So I'm going to try not to get that. Okay, once it's selected, come over to the left and select the paint bucket tool. And the paint bucket, yours will probably look like you won't have these options. If you go over here to the search tool, has all these different materials that you can paint on. There's glass and metal and brick. We want to go down to wood. And if you look, this stuff's running up and down, and this stuff's running left to right. So let's pick one that's running left to right. Let's pick this one right here. It kind of looks like a red oak or something. And then paint that on there. So now if you look at this, it's got a nice wavy grain pattern on there. But there's a problem. This isn't all one piece, like it's just still all separate. You'll see this if I go to move this, so it drags it and makes it all funny. We don't want to be able to do that. So I'm going to do Control Z to undo that, and I'm going to once again select the whole board, right click, and make it a component. And you could just name this board, but I want to name it, if it's a 2x4x8, I would name it 2x4x8. So I'm going to name it 0.5 because it's 1/2 inch thick by 2.5 wide by, what was it, 35 inches? I'm going to say okay. Alright, so really we're about there. Once you make one, you can just copy and paste. So it makes our life a little easier. We will need to make another board that's 36 inches that runs perpendicular to this board. So it'll be this board right here. So I guess we can do that. So I'm going to get a side view of this thing. And I'm going to get my pencil. And I'm going to come up, make sure it's blue, or whatever axis is there. Mine's blue. And I'm going to do 2.5, enter. I'm going to go over 0.5, enter. I'm going to zoom in so I can see this a little better. Make sure it's blue, and you can get a construction line. So like sometimes it just shows up on its own. You see a little green dashed line. But if I hover over this point and go to the right, it shows a little green dashed construction line, and then it snaps. So I know that that's going to be parallel to the left side. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to come over, click, and I could have typed it all in. I could have done 0.5, 2.5, 0.5. Alright, so we have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push-pull it. And we want to push-pull it. This one is going to be 36, so it's going to be an inch longer. And then I'm going to look back down this board. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to grab my selection tool and drag a box over this. And you see I missed that top line, so you got to make sure you get it all. And then I'm going to do the paint tool. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to paint it the same color. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it and say make a component. And this is a 0.5 by 2.5 by 36. And I've already made one of those, but you can do that, or you can name it like board 2. Okay, so now we can just get cruising. So what I'm going to do is I need 2 of these, so while it's still selected, I can do Control C, Control V, and just place one over here somewhere. And then I can do my select arrow, I can orbit, so I just select this one, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, 1, 2, 3, 4. We want 5 of those. So we got 2 of the longer boards, 5 of the shorter boards. Okay, we're going to mark one of these. So when you're framing, you need to space stuff a certain distance. Typically with a floor system, your floor joists are about 16 inches apart between them on center. So like if I went from here to the center of this one, the middle of this board, there'd be 16 inches. And if I went from the center of this one to the center of this one, 16 inches. That's so that your sheeting, which is 4 feet and 8 feet, can land halfway on one of these, and you can tie 2 pieces of sheet to one board. This will make a little more sense here in a second, but here is an illustration. So you can see this is a 8-foot long sheet by 4 feet wide, and it lands right on the center of this joist. So then I could attach another one here and run it over to finish that off. So that's why you do 16-inch spacing is a common spacing. And with floor joists, that's common, but they can be more or less depending on your joist system, what they're made of. And you know, like maybe there's a staircase that comes down right here and there's gonna be more weight here. You might double up a joist, and so, but for now we're just going to do our spacing at 9 inches because this is scaled down, it's smaller. So grab your little tape measure tool, and we want this inside corner. It's important that it's this inside corner closest to this board, and you want to click there on that end and drag it to the right and type 9. And now what it did, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny dot over here. It's called a glue point. And we can snap things to that glue point. Okay, then we're gonna snap to that, click and let go, drag to the right, 9, enter. Okay, it made another glue point right here. I'm gonna click and let go, drag to the right, you can see there's a line, type in 9, enter. And that's all that we need. Well, actually we might need one more, let's see. No, the last one, look, if I go to right there, look in the bottom right, that's 9 inches. So we don't need to put one here. Okay, the next thing we need to do is when you go back to this first one, click on it, drag to the right. And we need to count for, well, I'll put this board on here, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. So first off, let's move this board. So you click the move tool. I'm going to grab this point here. Oops. That board's still selected. I'm going to click on my select tool, click off of that board. Now do my move tool. Snap right there. And I want to snap that point to right to the edge of this. And you might have to rotate and get a better view of this, but you can see right there it is snapped and it says end point. I'm going to click. Now it's nice and flushed up. If I took this next one and I snapped it right there, and I came back and I measured this from right here to the middle of this, you notice that it's 9 1/4. So that's a problem. We need it 9 inches on center, not 9 1/4 on center. So if we came over 9 inches and we're going to snap the end of this board to it, what we need to do is come over 1/4 inch, half the thickness of this. So we're making up for this distance here. And when you're framing, you call this, like, you know, burning a quarter or whatever you're burning. So I'm gonna grab this tool, which is my tape measure. I'm gonna click on there, and I'm gonna come to the left. I'm gonna type 0.25. It's 1/4 inch. I just put it over. So now, if I take my move tool and I grab this end point and I snap it to that one I just made, let's see if that is right. Oh, you know what? Sorry. So what I need to do is I need to snap this edge. So I'm going to go ahead, do my move tool, grab this corner, and snap it right there. And now that 9 is right in the center. That's the one we wanted in the center. Another thing you can probably do is just grab the midpoint of the board and then snap that to it. Yeah, actually that's the way to do it. So, sorry, it's been a minute. Let's measure this and make sure it's right. The 9 plus 9, so this should be 16. Which 1 foot 6 inches. So that's, or sorry, 18. Well, I'm not 16. Sorry, it's been a long day. Should be 18, which it is. Okay. So now, I'm just going to finish these off. So I'm going to do my move tool. Come over here, grab the center of this. Make sure it says midpoint. I'm going to snap that to that line I made. This one, grab that midpoint. Oh, and actually this one, since it's the edge board, we want to grab this far right corner and snap it to this right corner. Alright. So if I were to measure these, they should all be 9 inches apart, which they are. Then we're going to take this end board. We're going to grab right here and snap that. It's good to go. Okay, and we're there. All we got to do now is put our OSB sheathing on. Typically this is 3/4 inch tongue and groove. And typically, if this is a big floor system, you have to kind of lay them like subway tiles. You have to stagger them so it makes it stronger. Since this is so small, we're just going to do one big sheet. Should be the strongest anyways. So I'm going to build the sheet to the side and then put it on. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool. And I'm going to click and try to drag out a shape that looks similar to that rectangle. And I'm going to type 36, 36. Enter. And then the sheeting that we're going to be using is 1/2 inch, but really it's 7/16, which is barely under a 1/2 inch. So we're going to click on this with the push-pull tool. We're going to go up, type 7/16. Enter. And now we want to go ahead and do the select tool. Select it all. Oops, I got this line here. Select it all. Paint it. There is an OSB paint, it's in the bottom left. OSB stands for Oriented Strand Board. It's a bunch of little strands of wood that are compressed together with glue, and it makes rigid sheeting material used for roofs, walls, and flooring, and more. So there it is. I'm going to select it again and right click and make it a component. And I could say OSB, or Oriented Strand Board sheet. And I could do 36 by 36 if I wanted. We've got that component. I'm going to do the move tool. I'm going to grab one of these corners down here and zoom in over here, snap it on, and if you look, fits like a glove, nice and perfect, and we're ready for the next step. So you need to rewatch this, but get this built and then we'll move on.